Governor, I want to ask a question.
Order, senators. Let's come back to the audit.
It's a statement of fact.
Yeah. No objection. Proceed, Senator Mogeni.
Now, Governor, I'm again interested on the performance of the employees we have at the county who process this payslip and procedurally. And was it done with information? Did this person come to you and disclose that they were going to pay you some arrears? Or did you prompt them to pay you the arrears based on what you have said about cases that were done for governors of Kakamega and I don't know, Mombasa counties? Who prompted the person to pay you the 6.53706 million? And if as you say, tomorrow, the officer to your left was to pay himself arrears of 7 million, will you take disciplinary action against them? Because if this is done to you by EACC and they come to you and say, you are paid irregularly, we are here, we want to do an agreement, you refund. Doesn't it concern you that can be a trickle-down effect? Other staff can say, let's try, we pay ourselves. After all, if we are found out, we'll simply just pay and we'll walk scot-free. Does it bother you?
That's something which should be addressed by another institution. But in the county or a general government, you cannot pay yourself. You can prompt a claim. It's calculated using the human resource manual. End of the month, chief officers meet to interrogate the payroll before they run it. So there is no way one can decide that I'm paying myself.
So this one you prompted the payroll master yourself. You're the one who prompted them to pay you. That's what I want to understand about the workings.
I must have brought into their attention about the court ruling on the salary, and they went through, did calculations, and made a payment.
Because this boils down to accountability. When EACC came to you, were they doing a criminal investigation or a civil recovery? The good officers told us there is a department called asset recovery. When they came to the county government of Nyamira, were they doing a criminal investigation or they were doing a civil recovery process?
They did not come for, they came for an inquiry.
Was they right to you? Was it the inquiry?
Wrote statements explaining.
So the inquiry was a criminal?
No. It was an inquiry. I can't know what the inquiry is criminal or not.
You know, I'm asking because you are in an era of accountability. That's what's going through the country. It's about accountability. Even if you are a commissioner at TSCC, you are a CEO, Kenyans expect you to be accountable. So if they have come to Nyamira to investigate loss of money, 6.573 million, they are doing it on behalf of the people of Nyamira. And we need to know, was it a criminal inquiry or a civil recovery process? Governor, you are on oath. Somebody who comes to take a statement will tell you, we are making an inquiry into a loss of this money, or we are doing a civil recovery process, okay, where we want to recover such an amount of money. So what was the process that
they came to inquire how the money was paid, on what basis, and we explained.
Senior Counsel, Onyonka amepatikana na ndama ya Omtata. Alafu Onyonka akakubali kurudishia Omtata ndama wake. Uchunguzi wa Onyonka, will it be civil or criminal?
It will be criminal.
I think that
in fact, that act, Chair, that act is so elaborate. I've worked at EACC for 5 years as Chair. And every criminal inquiry is normally accompanied with a report showing the outcome and the concurrence of the finalization of that inquiry with the concurrence of the DPP. That's why I'm asking, if that process was criminal, we must know whether due process was followed, an inquiry file was concluded, recommendation on closure of the file made, and the concurrence of the DPP obtained.
And I think that, to be fair, the EACC is the one who should be giving us those responses. And as you've said, you probably need some time to get that. Let's just from Senator Mtata.
I think take where the Senator has left off. I think here of key to the interest of Nyamira people is not even a criminal process. It's a civil process. They have lost money, the money has to be taken back. And that process key is entered in criminal matters. But after that, was this money recovered? If it was not, action through the civil procedure has been followed to recover this money, even to auction these people and get this money back. What has the county done to see that the money is recovered? Because the only prosecute is not the end of that of the matter. Basically, the state has stopped. But Nyamira has lost money. What did you do outside the criminal process to get the money recovered?
Senator, you have taken us back to the other issue of the two ghosts. One was a ghost civil engineer, and the other was a ghost inspector. And I think your question should then be the recommendation, because it's not enough to tell us that the DPP terminated the case. As you say, that is a criminal matter. There must be another recourse. We are focused more on the administrative. Senator Mtata is saying you still have space to go for a civil route. And the county attorney was trying to explain something. County attorney, you have listened to Senator Mtata. What assurance are you giving us on the action the county is going to take to recover those amounts? I think we're going back to the other, because we want to bring closure to all these HR issues.
Thank you, Chair.
Because just, beside that, there's an issue on irregular payment of salaries for 21 employees, where you have not provided any substantive response. You have only referred to the EACC. So let's hear the route that you are proposing and see whether we are going to concur.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, as we are discussing this issue, we were riding on the investigation from the ASCC. This matter, as appears, is a very complicated matter, because in the
Which one? The governor's pay slip or the earlier one?
No, the one of the two ghost workers.
Yes.
Because there is no clear-cut direct blame, you could say, that you were manipulating this where the names were inserted. That's why we expected that the EACC could have actually, already this year, could have actually investigated and probably find out where would be basically have...
Chair, sorry. You know, you are out of order completely. Governor has already assured us that because of the happenings, and it's on record, Kiriago has been released from the county government. Okay? He has assured us that he's going to commence disciplinary action against the other person, and which I think is the right thing to do. Now you're taking us again back with funny explanations. I'd rather you let that matter rest where it is. That action has been taken against Kiriago. Governor has promised on oath that he's going to commence disciplinary action against...
Governor, order. Just allow the senator to finalize. Senator Morgan?
Yeah. So, Mr. Attorney General,
I think this was prompted by Senator Mtata, who was asking whether there are certain civil pursuits that the county is making.
I thought they said...
that's what...
Chairman.
It is a chair to... Governor.
Point of order comes from him.
Unless there's a health break request. But otherwise, as far as the proceedings are concerned, the chair cannot be out of order.
I'm raising an issue because we are dealing with two separate issues and mixing up. You are raising an issue of 21 employees, what the county attorney was addressing.
Okay. This is the 21.
That's okay.
Back. That's okay. I'm sorry.
Governor,
if it's the 21, it's okay.
I am very, very confident and comfortable with the route I'm taking. I am dealing with 57% of your expenditure.
Correct.
It is on the human resource. Part of it is going to ghost workers. Part of it is going to the governor. Part of it is going to 21 employees. That is a problem. Senator Mtata has asked that even if criminal proceedings have been terminated, you still have a civil route. Members have already said that you also have the power to take administrative action, and that we have dealt with. And when I gave the county attorney an opportunity, it was to hear whether there's any civil appeal or civil proceedings that you have undertaken on the 21 and the 2 ghost workers. I think that was it. It's your attorney who has taken us on a wild goose chase. Yes. So, attorney, can you deal with what Senator Mtata asked? Is there any civil action that you are pursuing or you intend to pursue to recover the money?
Thank you, Chair. At the moment, we have not pursued any civil proceedings, but once the administrative action is taken, we'll.
How will you recover the money paid to ghosts?
Actually, that's what I was trying to explain. That if
so, we are helpless. We tell the people of Nyamira, makosa imefanyika, forget about that money. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Not exactly.
Whose responsibility is it to be a steward of public funds? Isn't it the CEO and his team?
Yes.
So you cannot give us that kind of statement, because we must get assurances that if there was loss of funds, which you agree there was, we agree there was, particularly with respect to the ghost workers, it does not end with Keriako going back to the institution that seconded him. The money needs to be recovered. Otherwise, this is the case where we do a surcharge. I think it is there in the Public Audit Act. If you are not commencing civil proceedings with a view to recovering the money, then we shall surcharge the officer who had the responsibility to safeguard that money. Senator Mtata, finally.
Yes, I think let us read the Constitution to our brother. Article 226, Clause 5. It says, because the ghosts did not pay themselves. The culprit here is the person who paid the ghosts, not the ghosts. And if the person who made a decision that money belonging to Nyamira will go to these undisclosed entities. So for me, Article 226, Clause 5 comes into play, where it says, if the holder of a public office, including a political office, directs or approves the use of public funds contrary to law or instructions, the person is liable for any loss arising from the use and shall make good the loss, whether the person remains the holder of the office or not. That's the Constitution. So we cannot beat around the bush. There's no costs. The fellow who was responsible for the money, who released the money, is the character we go after. We cannot say that the cost is lost because the recipient is unknown. No. Who opened the gate? That's the person we go after. And so, what mechanisms do you have in place, Chair, for going after the people who released this money to the ghosts? We don't go after the ghosts. It's the people who released the money that we go after, and who are they? Chair.
And I think that sounds like our recommendation on the matter, because you will ask that question in 3 different languages, they will still not respond. You have tried to do that in the last 45 minutes. We must make recommendations along those lines. The reason we have spent time on this is because it is 57% of your expenditure. And if we go forward, because we need to close these matters of HR, under compensation of employees, there is non-compliance with PFM regulation, where you are at 57%, 22% above the limit. And Governor, your expenditure is extremely worrying, because 57 goes to employees, 13 goes to the assembly. That is already 70%. What you're remaining with, only 13% went into development. Another 17% went into operations. Now, 13% development against the requirement of 30%. I think on that particular matter of fiscal prudence, we want to hear what action you're taking to bring your expenditure on employees from 57 downwards close to the 35%. Because if you look at it from that perspective, the Nyamira county is easily technically insolvent. If more than half goes to salaries, it sounds like a pay station, a payroll county, rather than a development county. So what measures, because we've got limited time, we want to hear from you what measures you're putting in place to reduce your employee expenditure. And I know you'll tell us about on-source revenue. Fine. What additional measures?
Can I ask a follow-up?
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up
Okay,
question?
let's take all the questions so that you can respond to all of them.
Governor, despite what is raised by the auditor, that we are at 57%, that's 22 above. Have you advertised and recruited 500 more employees who are reporting for duties today?
That's not true.
How many have been employed? And what will be any percentage?
Yeah, in fact, on that while writing on it, Governor, in your interventions, I had asked that question earlier, but you didn't respond. You can use the opportunity to respond.
I'll respond.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. At least I start with the Chair's questions. You have mean the first one is that we are increasing our own source revenue. The last year we increased revenue by 68%, and this year we expect to do the same. Next year we expect to double the revenue, because revenue is expected to be at the close of last financial year close to 400. Close to 400. That will assist in reducing the percentage. Number two, we have done human resource audit, which we have now started implementing. We are checking certificates. The first batch, we got 85 fixed certificates. For those ones, we stopped the salaries immediately. Number two, there were cases of illegal promotions. We have noted about 250 staff who got promotions illegally.
350.
350. 250. Illegal promotions. Phase 3 belonged to people who were illegally employed. Illegally employed. And remember, the fake certificates, this is phase 1. Phase 2, we expect in the next few weeks to get reports from various colleges and the Examination Council. We expect to have good results, because the biggest problem we have is that most people who were employed earlier were employed without considering the structure. Number two, the people we inherited from local authorities are earning super salaries. You can get a clerk who is earning about 70,000 higher than a university degree holder, even engineers. We are addressing that issue. We were thinking of getting somebody to enable us, maybe to treat some people who are over 55, but we have not gotten funds because we cannot hex people out without compensation. That was the measures we have taken to be able to bring the wage bill close to the required 35. But we can agree that because some of the decisions of payroll, particularly for health workers and SRC, decisions of increasing salaries, which is not bad anyway, will not enable us to reach 35. We target to reach about 45 after the interventions we are taking.
Now, in your responses, is that vision documented anywhere? Because I'm trying to see whether what we have is sufficient for us to refer to when making our report. I'm only seeing a profit allowance. Is that strategy captured somewhere? Do you have a paper, strategy paper, on that particular aspect?
We can provide in 7 days.
But do you have it? Because you have a county secretary, you've got a county public service board. I would expect that this is a conversation that is so important that there must be a cabinet paper on the measures to be taken. Have you gotten there, or it's something that we can advise and direct you to do?
Advise us.
Yeah, because look, we are going into the new formula for sharing of revenue. The fiscal responsibility index might come back. Yeah. And it's an entire 2%. And that's 8 billion Kenya shillings that Nyamira will not share in. You have conditional grants that look at fiscal responsibility, and Nyamira will lose out. So it depends on what you want. If you want to employ people so that everyone gets a share of devolution, or you want to provide services and development. But this should be a matter that is at the top of your concern. The ghost workers are just a symptom of the problem. Your payslip is just a small part of the problem. The overall thing is to move from 57 to come to a ratio that can allow you to get funding from the global share. I think it's a matter that should be looked at like a crisis. So I don't expect that in 7 days you'll have done anything that would be proper because it will still be full of intentions. Was Nyamira one of the counties that we had directed to provide?
Yes, sure.
And did they respond?
Yes, I responded.
Okay. So there's been something in writing to the Senate on the measures that you're taking, Clerk?
Yes.
I think we'll need to look at that report and maybe schedule another date for us to go through it because it's 57% of the expenditure. This is extremely important. So maybe instead of asking for a new report, we'll refer to what you responded to initially and probably schedule a meeting. We need to see actionable measures to move from 57 to something more acceptable.
Agreed.
Senator, did you increase the number of employees?
Yes, I increased, but not by 500.
How many?
We increased by 200 because of labs.
Because of
Because
that.
of Nyamira, we were shortage of engineers, architects, of finance, quant areas,
Can you give us a breakdown?
agriculture, of retired about
Governor, can you
about 50
provide
of them.
those cadres of the employees that you
We will.
Yeah.
It was essential.
Very essential.
And Chair, through you, Chair, Your Excellency, how did you arrive at the conclusion that you needed this personnel? Did you have
Needs assessment.
the proper procedure followed in terms of saying that there was a need for this? And did you ultimately get the approval of the control budget? Because it was going to come in the budget to implement that policy. You have approval from the control budget.
And on top of that, Governor, were you aware, did you have information that already your personnel emoluments are at 57%? And as Senator Kajwang has told you, you know, I'm the one who takes the hit. When the issue of revenue sharing comes in and fiscal responsibility is put on the table, we'll go back to what we had 5 years ago, where the county of Nyamira was losing 600 million. It's making life very hard for me as Senator of Nyamira. Were you aware that you're already at 57% as you're making that decision to recruit 200 more staff?
They have been integrated already. As I've said, actually,
I'm asking, were you aware about you being at 57, 22% above what the law provides?
after integrating them, at the current rate now is 48%. It's not 57. I can assure you there was shortages, there were retirements.
This is not the report.
Yes, but not this year.
But this year,
It's 42%.
you have had it.
Governor, I think you might need to listen. Auditor General, you also need to get the right base. Because, remember now you have CRF. You have computed it on, you have excluded conditional grants from the computation, isn't it? But those conditional grants are implemented by employees. So the right base should be the total receipts for the county. So if you took the total receipts, what percentage is it? Because it will change not because the governor has done something spectacular. It only changes because of the base. You understand where I'm coming from, Auditor?
But Chair, conditional grants are not static. You can't base it on, you may get a conditional grant this year, next year you don't have it. So that will be very misleading.
The argument has been that the conditional grants are implemented and executed by employees of the entity. So the governor said has improved. It is not because of any actual effort, it's because of the change base.
And Chair,
Yeah, when we do materiality aspect, conditional grants are influenced, they are not static. So you cannot put conditional grants as a base. So you have to remove the conditional grants and what regularly you will be realized in every financial year.
No, on that I disagree, because the Act talks of total revenues. And total revenues is equitable share, plus OSR, plus grants and loans. I think that has been the interpretation. We have had a lot of arguments about it. But even if you took that, they're still above 35. So it doesn't help. Senator,
I just wanted to ask His Excellency, in terms of also revenue, now that you are saying you needed to increase our force and whatever, how have you increased your own source revenue to try and maybe narrow the percentage to above 35? Because if you have to pump in more money from your own sources, then that percentage will disappear. Have you tried to look at the question of own source revenue and see if your own source revenue and enable you increasing your own source revenue will give you the free hand to hire the human resource you need?
Allow me to give a short 2-3 sentences. Senator Mtata, we are aggressively doing on source revenue. As I have told you, the last year we did by 68% on on source revenue. This year we are supposed to do the same, and the next financial year we are supposed to double from 400 to 800. The story comes that in employing this new staff, the departments were staffed of professionals. The smaller people, the lower cadre has got big numbers of staff, but the professionals were missing. Every department was not able to operate, and we knew we were going to implement this human resource audit. We knew that we are going to have gaps naturally, so we had to fill them, then start clearing the place. Case in hospitals, we employed 40 nurses. By the end of this year, yesterday, on Friday, we need another 40 because some were involved in irregularities, some have left the country, left employment. So that's one area where we employ most people. Another one is agriculture and livestock. We employed nearly 50 people because we didn't have livestock officers. Some who were there had retired. Agriculture is about 40 of them had also retired. So we had to place particular number so that we start implementing the programs we have. So it's not that we were just employing arbitrarily. No, we were based on departmental demands.
I want us now to be very crisp in terms of questions and responses. It's really 2:30. The House needs quorum. Senator, you agree?
Yes, I had a query. Just in wrapping up, Governor, these 85 with fake certificates, did you take administrative action and report them to DCI or ESCC? And number two, these 250 that you added, will be able to provide their different data for that? Thank you.
Governor?
Once we got that report from Examination Council, the first step we stopped the salaries because they are criminal in nature. We gave a copy to DCI and the ESCC.
So it's up to them.
And the phase 2 will do the same. But for our promotions, it's internal. So that one we don't have to deal with.
If you stop the illegal promotions, will you save some money?
On the legal promotion, I will save nearly 9.8 million per month.
A month.
Per month.
Okay.
And on the 85, I will save 4.7 per month.
So the question, how long will it take to see this action, especially on legal promotions?
I've already implemented.
You have implemented?
I've implemented from the month of May.
So 85 now, have you also implemented?
85, it was immediate.
Immediate.
And I forwarded the
Can you provide us the evidence of the same forwarded to ESCC?
We can give you copies within even 3 days because we have them.
We will have a much more robust conversation when we come in to discuss issues of HR. There was a matter of great concern on unsupported legal expenses. We have seen the response.
Sorry, Chair, can we maybe have that confirmation of the documents we would receive before we move to the next one?
Yeah, I think on HR there was an issue of the position of ESCC on the matter of the governor's personal benefits, because I think the question cannot be answered by the governor comprehensively. It's the ESCC to inform us of the status of the matter. So ESCC, once you get information, please share with us, guide us in report writing.
Governor, please to give us correspondence.
Correspondence, yeah. He said
Between himself and
ESCC and DCI.
I think ESCC have all the copies I have.
let ESCC provide us with the records in their possession, and then we can use that to, if there are gaps, then we shall demand the same of the government. Secondly,
Chair, you know, the person responding to these queries is the governor. He has those documents. We want to know whether that inquiry was criminal or civil. Let him provide the documents to the committee to help us in making our report.
I think on this senior council, the investigators who initiated the recovery, and I think the reason why we have ESCC here is for them to go back and let ESCC trigger, and then on the basis of that trigger, if we need to get the governor, we'll get the governor. So let's start with the ESCC trigger. But on the other hand, on the question of additional staff, where you have talked of 200, and you have said that there were specialists, we will need to get a detailed breakdown of the staff that were recruited, including their specialization. That must come from the government.
But we undertake to provide in some days.
In some days?
And for information in Chair, the actions I took on human resources, we have 174 million annually.
We shall see that on the balance sheet when we look at the reports for 2024. We took a lot of time on the big thing of HR, which is 57% of the expenditure. We dealt with the assembly, which is 13%. That represents 70% of the expenditure. We take note that the Auditor General will, in the next 3 months, be receiving your financial statements to facilitate the audit of 2023-2024. The problem we have in Governor is in the quality of the responses that we have. if we make the decision to take written responses, you have seen the challenge we have had with other queries, where the responses do not seem to get to the crux of the matter. And so what we do is the residual matters, we will take the General's opinion, but there could be a few issues that we will still need your presence to respond to if the written responses are not comprehensive enough. It's extremely important that we close the 2021 financial year so that we can be courage. We don't want stories of I was not there or I was just new. We want to look at the financial years where you have been substantively in office. If there is an issue which the Auditor General tells us is unresolved, then that is a position that we take, that is unresolved, and then we shall pronounce ourselves accordingly. The reason we wanted the assembly here, and they come, was with regards to the projects, infrastructure projects. I've seen a lot of projects here that we cannot oversight from Nairobi. If, for example, it is a matter of water supply, really, how do we confirm that it is working? It's just a matter of looking at written responses. But I think there are two or three projects which I might just steal 4 minutes to deal with. Is the county headquarter complete? Yes or no?
It's ongoing.
What percentage?
60%.
Were you one of those counties that where the project was handed over for public works to the county?
No.
We're using our own resources, not additional grant.
Yes. But the promise of a conditional grant, but it has not arrived.
So that is a matter the Auditor General must keep in view. The stadium, is it complete? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's complete.
Chair, if you want us to do a proper inquiry on this, allocate us one make for 5 minutes. We'll go through all the projects, including the water boreholes, and complete infrastructure, including county waters, hospitals, and the like. If we don't have adequate time, we can adjourn to next.
Actually, looking at time,
Because the Senate is lacking quorum.
I think the intention of asking those questions is to direct the Auditor General to keep the matters in view.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking them with a view to resolution, so that they must form part of scope of your audit. Because sometimes there are, say, prior year issues. We need to see them coming out substantively in your subsequent audit. I think then we will come to a conclusion. We've been able to deal with the revenue statement. We have partially dealt with the report of the financial year ended 2022. We shall consider the written responses, but definitely there will be a number of issues that will still require us to have an explanation from the county executive of Nyamira. That then brings us to the end, because the Senate is sitting down, and some of us who are here are the ones who are that corner. Unless there is a very burning closing remark from the members, we can donate our time to the Senator for Nyamiya, but I'll ask the Governor to make his closing remarks. Governor?
Thank you, Chair, with your committee. I think we have had a good discussion. Whatever we have not finished, I think we are ready to finish in the time you require. Some of those projects you talked about just now, the auditors came to the ground and visited. I think they will give it in their report. And about my salary, I'm ready to provide, although the ESC said to provide, and it was not in the order paper. Chairman, thank you so much.
If you had parliamentary experience, you would then be familiar with what is called supplementary questions. There are questions gives rise to a question, and that's a practice of parliament. So the fact that a matter was not in the audit report does not stop us from looking at it. Otherwise, we'll be robots, and this Senate is not about robots. Senator,
yeah, of course, Chair, I want to thank the committee for the time it's spent to look into the happenings in the county government of Nyamira. Some issues remain outstanding. Governor, I hope you'll make it easier providing all the documentations around the issue of your salary to the committee, so that we don't go the long route of opening the documentations. I'm concerned, like any other resident of the county government of Nyamira, that we continue receiving qualified reports. In some instances, we have adverse. We have moved from qualified to adverse. If the permit of fiscal responsibility becomes part of the revenue formula, certainly, under your administration, you cause Nyamira to lose some money. Because we will not be able to share the 8 billion. We will be shared and benefit counties that have had good fiscal responsibility. So if you have the people in Nyamira, ensure that your workings, your accounting system complies with the law, so that the auditors don't give us or adverse audited reports that will impact negatively on us. That's what we need to bear in mind.
thank you, Senator Morgan. Clerk, we shall summarize the interim recommendations for the attention of the county executive. Our recommendations will be corrective, others will be preventive, and others will be punitive, because we have seen that there is need to take action to prevent the bleeding of public resources, particularly on human resource-related issues. We shall scrutinize the written responses, and where there is need for further interrogation, we shall ensure that the Senate gets to the depth of the issues, and that if you have done a proper job of responding and attaching annexures, then it will be very easy to consider the written responses. But we shall take the view when making the report writing. With that, I know Senator Morgan is split between the Senate and the people of Nyamira. I would have thought this would have been the primary duty, but beyond the primary duty or collective duty to the Senate of the Republic, we could have done much more, but this is the point where the meeting is adjourned.